So today we're going to be talking about how to beat every single UFC world champion. Starting off in the heavyweight division, we have Tom Aspinall. Now Tom Aspinall has looked amazing since joining the UFC. This guy's looked pretty much unstoppable. I know he has one technical loss in the UFC, but really that was an injury. It wasn't as if Curtis Blaydes just outclassed him in that matchup. It literally came down to an injury Tom Aspinall sustained, and when we seen them rematch, Tom Aspinall made it look light work in there against Curtis Blaydes. Now, like I said, Tom Aspinall is blitzing all his opponents, but there is a way to beat him in my opinion, and that is a heavy-handed striker that is willing to engage and go first with Tom Aspinall. Now, Tom Aspinall, like I said, he's looked really good. His boxing's looked really good. His in and out movements, the power that he possesses in his hands. But his striking defense is there to be capitalized on by someone who is willing to engage with him and go first, in my opinion. Tom Aspinall, hands down low, chin right up there in the air. Someone that I think would beat Tom Aspinall is a Francis Ngannou. Now, we have seen Tom Aspinall be in there with big punchers in the heavyweight division, most notably Sergey Pavlovich. And I think Sergey Pavlovich could have beaten Tom Aspinall if he had have engaged with Tom Aspinall first, not let Tom Aspinall be the one leading the dance and let his hands go, because Tom Aspinall is very upright, chin in the air. He is there to be hit. He is not a perfect defensively sound striker at all. Now, don't take this for literal sense, but someone like a Derek Lewis, someone who is a massive puncher that will be there to exchange with Tom Aspinall. Maybe not exactly Derek Lewis, because I feel like with Tom Aspinall's speed, he would catch Derek Lewis, and Derek Lewis, no offense to him, I don't think he'd have the heart in him to stay in there with Tom Aspinall. I think he'd get hit with a shot from Tom Aspinall and be like, fuck that, I'm done. Where someone like Ngannou, I think he has the toughness, the durability, and I don't think he would be afraid to let his hands go against Tom Aspinall, be the one to go first and be the one to look to land that shot on the chin of Tom Aspinall, because it is there. I mean, we've seen Curtis Blaydes land on him. We've seen a lot of other heavyweights be able to do that. But it seems like some people are a bit hesitant to really let their shots go against Tom Aspinall because of his quickness and because of his power. But I think someone like an Ngannou would beat him. Ngannou would let his hands go. He's a massive puncher, and I think he would find the chin of Tom Aspinall. That's how I think you need to beat him, is you have to be able to engage, go first, and you need to be able to find that chin, and you need to be a power puncher. Moving on to Jon Jones. Now, Jon Jones, we've kind of seen the blueprint on how to beat him. A good level of takedown defense, around the same size as him, and a good boxer. If you have those three things, you will beat Tom Aspinall. We've seen Dominick Reyes do it. I know he was robbed. Dominick Reyes beat him, and he fits those categories. Same size as Jon Jones, good takedown defense, and a good boxer. That's why Jon Jones doesn't want to smoke with Tom Aspinall. That is why, because he knows Tom Aspinall stylistically is all three of those things, and that's not what Jon Jones wants. Jon Jones, his IQ is his biggest strength. A lot of people go on about his striking defense, how good it is, what about his chin. Jon Jones' striking defense is really flawed, in my opinion. The reason why it looks so good is because half the time he's so much bigger than his opponents. So when he's able to just stretch his arms out and lean back out of the way, the guys like, for example, DC, who are so much smaller than him, are going to struggle to work their way around his wingspan, because Jon Jones has a really long wingspan. I think he's got the longest in the UFC. I don't think his striking defense is great. I don't think it's great, and we've seen that in even Stipe. 1,000-year-old Stipe Miocic showed, and if this isn't working for Jon Jones, he's running. He's turning his back and he's running. That's his striking defense. I don't rate it. So if you're the same size, similar, good takedown defense, and a good boxer, you will beat Jon Jones, in my opinion. Moving on, we've got the light heavyweight champion in Magan Ankolv. Look, to beat Magan Ankolv, who's really good in my opinion, everybody seems to think this guy's a grappler. He's not. He is a good southpaw boxer. That's his strength. It's not his grappling. To beat Magan Ankolv, you need to have good takedown defense, and you need to have volume on the feet. You can't just look to pick one shot against him. He's too quick for that. He's going to outmatch you. He's going to throw more than you. You need to be able, once you stuff the takedowns, like if Alex Pereira can beat Magan Ankolv, he defended the takedowns, he showed that he can stuff the takedowns, but he needs to be more active. And I think that was like a thing that happened with Alex Pereira in there, was he was so worried about the takedowns, even though he was defending them. I think that's what made him hesitant to let his shots go. I think in the rematch we will see something different from Pereira. But yeah, that's how I think you would beat Magan Ankolv. You need to be solid in the takedown defense department, because even if Magan Ankolv gets you down, he's not the most dominant at controlling you. You don't have to worry about nasty ground and pound. You don't have to worry about a submission threat. He's none of those things. But you need to be able to stop the initial takedown from Magan Ankolv and be active on the feet. Go first, throw volume, put it on him. That's how you're going to beat Magan Ankolv, in my opinion. Moving on to the middleweight champion, we have got Dricus du Plessis. Now look, Israel Adesanya was kind of the perfect style to beat Dricus du Plessis. Hear me out. Israel Adesanya was beating Dricus du Plessis in their matchup. The thing that failed Adesanya isn't his takedown defense, because I actually think a lot of people underrate Israel Adesanya's takedown defense. It was his cardio that really let Adesanya down in that matchup against Dricus du Plessis, and that has to go towards Dricus. He was the one that was constantly pushing the pace on Israel Adesanya. And I know it's like, oh, Dricus du Plessis is so goofy, it works, blah, 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 like his striking style. There's a lot of holes, there's a lot of openings in Dricus du Plessis' striking style. That lunging forward, leaning in, there's a lot of things that people can capitalise on, and Israel Adesanya was doing it really well at UFC 305. If he had better cardio, it's not even like he needed to have so much better takedown defense against Dricus. I don't think that was the problem. For me, it was the cardio. Adesanya didn't have the engine to keep up with Dricus du Plessis, because Dricus du Plessis will be the one that looks to lead the dance. He's not going to be sitting on the back foot looking to counter. He is going to be the one, the aggressor. He is going to be the one pushing forward. So I think to beat Dricus du Plessis, the best way to do it is just be Israel Adesanya with better cardio. A really, really good kickboxer that can manage range well, but you need to have the cardio. You need to be able to outlast Dricus du Plessis. That is what you need to be able to do. This guy's got a massive heart. He has got a lot of grit in there. The will to win of Dricus du Plessis. But I think if you're you need to be an elite level kickboxer, because Dricus du Plessis is a very high level striker. I know it looks goofy and there are openings that he does leave, but he is still overall a really good, talented striker. So to beat him, you need to be a good, really good kickboxer with the cardio behind it to go all 5 rounds, because he is really tough and durable. You know, he's not going to be put out there easy. It's not as if you're going to catch him with one shot and put him down. It's not going to happen. I don't think. This guy's literally got the ultimate plot armor. So to beat him, you need to be a high-level kickboxer with the cardio to go behind it. Moving on, JDM. Look, JDM is kind of an obvious one in my opinion. A grappling-heavy approach. Now, before people say, well, Belal Muhammad couldn't do it. If you go back and watch my UFC 315 prediction video, I literally predicted how this fight would go. I said Belal Muhammad would move away from the wrestling. And I'm not trying to take away from JDM, because he showed really improved takedown defense against Belal Muhammad. But Belal Muhammad fell in love with the Canelo hands theory, which is what I predicted when I was talking about this matchup. He fell into the thing of he's going to be able to beat JDM. He's going to be able to outstrike JDM because he's got Canelo hands. And that was his downfall. I think someone like an Islam Makhachev is going to be able to beat JDM, to be honest. I think he subs him inside 3 rounds. His grappling is just different. His control of his opponents when they hit them out as well. That's a big thing. You need to be very top heavy. You need to be good at controlling your opponents, especially when you're in there against JDM, because he will scramble like fuck. He will be like a fish out of water. He will not want to be on his back at all. He is constantly looking to scramble and move up. And I think that there can lead to openings where you can snatch up a neck, like an Islam Makhachev probably will, in my opinion, and get the sub over JDM. But a very grappling heavy approach is how to beat JDM. Be top heavy when you get him down and control him well. If you can do that, you will beat JDM. That's the obvious way. Grappling heavy approach. Moving on to Islam Makhachev himself. Look, to beat Islam Makhachev, I think you need to be an aggressive boxer with good takedown defense. That's why I think Ilia Tapora is going to beat Islam Makhachev. He is going to be able to wrestle with Islam. He's going to do a good job of stuffing the takedowns against Islam. And before people say, how the hell do you know that, boy? I know it. I believe in Ilia. Ilia's got good takedown defense. I think a lot of people just underestimate it because he got taken down by Bryce Mitchell. Bryce Mitchell has a really good, well-timed shot when he's shooting in for takedowns. But I think Ilia Tapora is going to do a good job of defending the takedowns of Islam Makhachev. And I do think Islam is a good kickboxer, but his cardio is a big problem. And I think someone like Ilia Tapora, who will stuff the takedowns, be the aggressor in the matchup, have Islam on the back foot, not leading the dance. And I just don't rate Islam Makhachev's defense when it's in close quarters. Even in the Moicano matchup, like I know he smoked Moicano easy, but when you see that, it's just his defense inside the pocket isn't great. And we've seen him be chinned before. That's why I think someone with good takedown defense and an aggressive boxing style, not kickboxing. You don't want to be at mid-range, long-range with Islam. You want to be in the close range. Get in the pocket with him. I know he's got good clinch work, but I feel like in a boxing distance is where you're going to have a lot of success against Islam Makhachev. Look at Dustin Poirier, for example. Moving on to Ilia Tapora himself. To beat Ilia Tapora, one, you need to utilise a lot of leg kicks, in my opinion. He's very heavy on his lead leg. You need to chew up that lead calf of Ilia Tapora. And you need to do a good job of skirting around the outside and keeping at range. I think you need to be a lot bigger than Ilia Tapora lengthwise, in my opinion. Like Max Holloway. Max Holloway was doing a really, really good job against Ilia Tapora, in my opinion. Just Max Holloway ended up getting caught by Ilia. He ended up engaging a bit more when he should have been happy and content with just pumping out the jab, moving, having Ilia come towards him like the bull that he is. He's going to come forward. He's going to look to be aggressive. You're going to need to be on the back foot, working that leg kicks, working the body kicks, pumping out that jab, keep him moving, because Ilia Tapora is like that age-old thing in boxing where it's like, you have to be perfect for 25 minutes against Ilia, but he only has to be perfect for like 1 second, because Ilia Tapora has lights out knockout power. He can put you away with one shot. I know people might say, well, he didn't put Max Holloway away with one shot, bro. But he hit Max Holloway with that left hook. And then you seen the fear in Max Holloway's eyes when he got hit with that. It was, as soon as Max Holloway got tagged by that, I think it was the left hook or was it the right hand, that instantly that you just see Max Holloway's eyes just open. The fight was done at that point anyway. So I think to beat Ilia, abuse the leg kicks, the lower half of his body, kick his legs, kick his bodies, kick his arms as well, because if you're going to be kicking the body, his arms are going to be dropping to block that. Boot the life out of his arms. Be happy that you're going to be on the back foot. Stay out of close quarters engaging with him. Pump out the jab and move. Basically, jab and move is kind of how to beat Ilia, in my opinion. Moving on, we've got Alexander Volkanovski. Look, Volkanovski's very, very well-rounded, in my opinion. But I think the way to beat Volkanovski is to be... And you have to lead the dance. What I mean by that is you have to have Volkanovski on the back foot. And you have to draw him into a scrap. Like we seen, like Ilia Tapora didn't draw him into a scrap, but Ilia Tapora was the aggressor, had Volk on the back foot. I know Volk won the first round, but again, Volk was constantly skirting around on the outside, on the back foot, and that's where we seen Ilia land that big shot. He had Volkanovski constantly on retreat mode, on the back foot. He wasn't being the aggressor, he wasn't leading the dance. And you have to try and draw him into a slugfight or get into close quarters with him. I mean, Diego Lopez, for an example, obviously he lost to Volkanovski. But when he was able to draw Volkanovski close to him, even though he was the bigger guy, I actually think if you're taller than Volk by a lot and you have like a big, tall frame and you're going in there against Volkanovski, it's probably a hindrance because he's so used to fighting a lot bigger guys. Where if you are shorter, I think you can have more success against Volkanovski. That might just be me. But yeah, when Diego Lopez was able to close the distance, draw Volkanovski into a scrap, that's where you can see holes in Volkanovski's striking defense, is when you're in the close quarters with him. That's where you can see the openings, like we seen with Tapora, like we seen with Diego Lopez as well. That's how I think you beat Volkanovski. Moving on to Morab. To beat Morab, I think you have to be a real submission threat, in my opinion. I think you have to be a competent level striker. No one's going to be able to defend all of Morab's takedowns. It's just not going to happen. You're not going to be able to. But I think they kind of get Morab away from shooting 5 gazillion takedowns. When he shoots in, you have to be trying to snatch up a neck. You have to be, when you go to your back, looking for an armbar, looking for a triangle, rolling for a leg. That's the way to beat Morab, because I think you have to, like an Oliveira, for example, would be, if Oliveira was able to make bantamweight, which obviously isn't going to happen, but someone of like Oliveira's skill set, if you know what I mean, a guy that as soon as you go to try and shoot a takedown on him, like what we've seen against Orman, he's straight there for the neck, he's going for dorses, he's going for front headlocks, he's looking to snatch up an armbar, he's looking to go to the legs, be aggressive with submissions against Morab. That's what I think you have to be able to do. I think that will then hinder Morab's want to then shoot a lot of takedowns, which I think will lead openings on the feet to Morab. Look, I don't think Morab's a great striker at all. I know people say, but he outstruck Sean O'Malley. He outstruck Sean O'Malley because O'Malley was petrified of the takedown threat of Morab, where if you're able to be in yourself and know, right, okay, he's going to shoot a lot of takedowns for me, but when he shoots for a takedown, I'm looking to get to a neck, I'm looking to maybe scramble, try and get to his back, I'm looking to snatch up a triangle, roll for a leg, something like that. I think you can have a lot more success against someone like Morab, in my opinion. Although Oliveira might not be the best example of that, because when Oliveira gets in there with some of these brother grapplers, he ends up wasting too much time on his back. But you get what I mean. Someone that is aggressive with looking for submissions is what I think you need. And finally, for Pantoja, you just can't beat this guy. No, in all seriousness, to beat Pantoja, you just need to be a better Steve Ercik, in my opinion. Someone that's willing to scramble with Pantoja, that won't be held down by him. Someone that has got good takedown. Not even necessarily you have to defend every takedown, but to have really good get-ups when you are taking down, a really good scrambling ability. Not to just be held down there from Pantoja. Having a bigger frame than him will help, yes. And I think his striking is underrated. This actually sounds pretty contradicting. I think his striking is actually pretty underrated, because a lot of people feel like he's this really shit striker. He's actually not. He's actually a pretty good striker, but he's not an amazing striker. So to beat Pantoja, good scrambling and get up abilities, and be a good, you don't even have to be a big puncher, because he's really tough and durable. Again, kind of similar to the Ilia Tapora thing. Be a good level kickboxer with good cardio that can just poke at range. Good takedown defense with scrambling ability, and a very well-rounded striker that can poke at range. That's how to beat Pantoja, in my opinion, as of right now. So yeah, let me know your opinions in the comments below. Do you agree? Do you not? And as always, like, share, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. And I'll see you all again in the next one.